Welcome to Stop Now, a social experiment where we stop, listen, and share. I am Nate. Welcome back to our talk show, everybody, and welcome to our first official episode of the summer, I guess. So I hope everybody is having a good summer out there. But let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it because we have a special guest joining us this week. But before we get to our guest, I want to introduce my co-hosts. First of all, we have somebody, speaking of summer, who is so cool that you never see him sweat. Ladies and gentlemen, Shiva is with us this week. Shiva, how are you, my friend?
Yes, I am fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for the summer. I'm excited for our episode this week, Shiva. I think we're going to have a lot of fun this week. And also joining us, Shiva, as always, is somebody who is probably very hot right now because he's wearing a mask. He is the man in the mask, the voice of the voiceless. He is the man behind the curtain, keeping things running this week. JK. JK, how are you?
I'm good, Nate. Thank you. Again, I'm not able to breathe. I'm sweating, as you said. So let's get on to the business. And we have Tom, as you mentioned. Let's welcome him and let's get to know more about him, what he does, and why is he here with us today.
Yes. Yes, as JK mentioned, our special guest, Tom Nevin. Tom, aka TC. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. So yeah, on Clubhouse they call me TC. In my writers club, they also call me TC because there's another Tom. You can call me Tom or TC. So today I'm here to discuss an upcoming book release for Joe's Writers Club Publishing.
So in terms of, the book, let's get a little bit more into the book, TC. And I will call you TC because I'm a fan of initials and nicknames. So, but in terms of the book, like what was it specifically about We the People Inc. that kind of grabbed you? Before we kind of get into the meat of what we're going to talk about this week, Tom, can you give the audience just a little quick introduction about you and some of the work that you do?
10 years ago, I kind of started out deciding to go into the business of invention consulting, and I've been doing that ever since. And I've done everything from apps and websites and music videos and business development, machining, prototyping. And a couple years ago, I joined my friend's writers club, Joe's Writers Club, and kind of helped start up some business writing and getting clients for them, doing search engine optimized content as a service for businesses, and getting the publishing company underway. So that's what I'm here to discuss today. Is
first of all, Tom, July 4th, like you couldn't pick a better date. Like it's symmetry for We the People Inc. on July 4th. But I guess we can start there.
Sure, yeah. So We the People Inc. is it's such a classic story, and yet it's very contemporary. It's set in what we say is a near and dystopian future, but it's not like you would think like sci-fi. It's just like today. It's so contemporary. Unfortunately, it's like we live in a dystopian future, right? That's what it seems like sometimes. So this book was actually written by William Miriek, and he wrote it originally as a short story in 2013 after he had been in the hospital for a year. So, he saw some things with the healthcare system and, some other experiences he had in his life. And I don't want to say, every author has a little bit of themselves in their characters, but, I definitely think that William sort of wrote himself into the main character. Not exactly. It's not the same story. It's actually a completely different story, but it has the same values. And when you hear, you're going to get a chance to talk to Bill, maybe in the future soon. To hear it from his own mouth is amazing. I'll do the best I can to do it justice. Did I
Tom,
answer your question? I feel like I forgot what you asked.
No, you did. You did. I feel like because part of what you said right there in terms of the near future and how some days, especially over the last 2 years, TC, it has felt like we have all of this technology, we have all of this progress from on one aspect, but there are basic things like healthcare, like you know, basic human rights that are not being met. So it's this weird mix of we're very progressive from a technological standpoint, but from a human standpoint, still a lot of work that we can be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some of the greatest advantages at our disposal that our predecessors worked so hard to help build for society, but we don't know how to use them yet. And in fact, they're being used negatively against us. I don't want to get into too many details, but social media is such a powerful tool, and yet it's in many cases become toxic. It's getting teenagers depressed. It's getting people to do wild stunts just for attention and risking themselves and those around them. That's just one example.
Tom, quick question. So the We the People Inc. is it's a culmination of the novel that you mentioned, right? So is it inspired by the novel you all decided to build this company, or what exactly is this? Like, is it a trust or is it a non-profit? What are we talking
Sure.
about?
Yeah. I guess let me explain that. So, not only is We the People Inc. a novel, but basically in the novel, the main character and his daughter, once she grows up, they kind of work together and they have a secret plan to give the average person as much power as the oligarchs, collectively at least, right? So we decided to build the website from the book, which is a decentralized political action committee and an organization that allows members to, first of all, discuss. There's a platform for the members to write articles and have discussion forums and discuss what's most important to them, and then eventually make propositions which they can all vote on and fund these propositions in a decentralized manner. So it also, goes through blockchain and make sure that everything is verifiable. It's a verifiable voting system. Actually, let me clarify that in the roadmap. So we're not going to be spending any of the funding or doing any voting until 2024. We want to make sure that the system's completely secure, but that's okay because in the meantime, we have to discuss what's most important and really create that dialogue. So it's kind of like a buffer zone for everybody to collectively come to solutions together before we start, just jumping out and naming solutions and spending all of our money, right? So we're gonna give a waiting period on the voting, but hopefully not too long. It's on the roadmap for 2024. In the meantime, we got members writing articles and having discussion forums and really trying to solve problems that you can just take on the ground, right? I mean, you could do things without voting sometimes. You hear a good idea and let's start doing that in our own communities.
And I like that idea because it's kind of something that we've talked about a lot on these talk shows, where there are a lot of issues, TC, that are sort of these big ticket items, if you will, that needs deep solutions, like foundational changes in the way that America operates to be solved. But then there are other things that I think are more localized that can be helped almost immediately if people would just work together and put in the work. So in terms of kind of some of the ideas that people have brought already, to We the People Inc. Do you notice a theme about some of the propositions or proposals being put out there?
So we aren't in the proposal stage yet. That's
Okay.
part of the thing. So we're in the discussion stage. This is all very new. The book's coming out in about a month, and we just made the site live a week ago.
Okay.
So
Tom's like, give it time, man. Give it time.
yeah, the overwhelming, I will say, the overwhelming discussion is on school shootings right now. You know, so and I think that's part of the thing. You know, this is a big issue, but it's in a way also it's a remnant of the echo chamber that we live in, and although it is an issue that needs to be solved, once I feel like once We the People Inc. is more mature, we will have discussions on all topics and really starting to plan solutions, and not just pick at problems, right? Because there's always going to be problems, but it's harder to find the solution than it is to spot the problem, right? So that's what we're after. Because and just to touch on that, and then the way I see it with, you know, this violence, especially at school and with our youth, is it's a problem even if you took all the guns away, that would still be there in another form.
Yeah.
You know, people can do heinous things. I don't want to give ideas, so I'm not going to name any other ways that you could hurt people, but really it's those individuals that need help, and to have a system in place where, you know, people get help early and never even get to the point of mentally breaking would be our ultimate goal.
Yeah. Well, I think really quick on that, Tom, like, is part of the problem in current society that we always, or not we, but the people in positions of power tend to make it an either or solution, where when we look at gun control, like, not only is it something about the actual guns itself, but like you said, there's a mental health aspect. I think there's also a quality of life aspect where people who have less options in life based on economics or whatever will tend to go down a route that is more violent. So there's like 3 or 4 issues in this one thing in terms of solving this one problem. But it feels like whatever side of the aisle you're on, whatever your ideology is, people only can focus on one thing at a time, and it's not a one size fits all solution, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot like our healthcare system and how I'm not a doctor, but you know, you hear these things that people say, we're trying to fix the symptoms, not cure the disease. So in a weird way, you can solve a lot of problems at once just by pure virtue of the way you approach problem solving.
Tom, I just have a quick question. So as you said, right, so you are in the early stage and trying to build this as a platform, and I'm a bit lost on it. Like, I have a lot of questions and I don't want to take much of the time, and other members are there, like Shiva wants to ask any question, he can also. So what I wanted to understand, you said like it's kind of a, correct me if I'm wrong, the book says it's a secretive mission, and they wanted to come up with a political action committee and all those things, right? So do you categorize this as a political activist movement to bring in change to the problems and provide solutions? Or is it more of, because as we were discussing about this gun violence and other things, right? So whichever is the prominent or important topic at that time, your platform will drive the conversation towards that. So like, if you take immigration issues, or if you take human rights issues, or if you are focusing on war, so or political voting system, so what is the exact focus of We the People then? That is my primary question.
Well, as an organization, I don't. I could explain the structures more, but really, ultimately, it's up to the people. It's up to the members, because
Oh, sorry. So
even
it's
though,
a member-based organization. Is that what you're saying?
can you repeat that? I just there was you cut out there for a second.
Sorry to interrupt. So you are saying it is a member-based organization. Members decide like how the organization thrives.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I guess I can explain the structure real quick. Maybe that'll make it more clear. We've built a structure in for this beta period, which will eventually become fully decentralized. But there is the We the People Inc., a corporation, which is the trustee for a special purpose trust
Mhm.
for the benefit of We the People Inc., decentralized autonomous organization. So the reason we do that is because, with a lot of the hacking that's going on some of these, infamous hacks where all the funding gets stolen and other issues that we may not foresee, we want to make sure that during the next year and a half, we know we have the trusted trustee bound by law to enact the wishes of the DAO, and so there is a layer of it's like an air gap layer in a sense there to the system. Once the system's fully mature, we'll be able to just put it on autopilot essentially, and all the members will vote, and then they all have their crypto wallets hooked up. And if you're the proposer of a proposition and it gets funded and you explain exactly how you're going to use the funds, all the governance tokens and votes transfer the funding into your wallet to use for the purpose of what you said you would.
Well, really quick on that point, Tom, not to be cynical, but if in terms of that, like say JK, for example, puts out a proposal and his proposal is the one voted on, is there a layer of accountability to make sure that JK is following up on what JK proposed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you don't follow up on it, you'll be flagged in the system. You will be considered, as long as you so if you misuse the funds completely, you're considered in debt to the system. You wouldn't be allowed to participate even. You lose your stake. And also there's a level of trust you'll have to build up. So you get to start with the ability, after you've gone through the civic training, which we'll have to develop as a decentralized organization, and you show that you have the expertise for that particular proposition, you get a maximum amount of funding for an initial proposition. You have to build your trust up within the DAO. So yeah, I guess somebody could build up all the trust and then just to get all the money and run away with it. But that's why we aren't making this live for another year and a half. We want to make sure that we cover as many angles as possible.
Yes, that's one thing. Like I don't want like busy off. Like the first interview, we wanted to do part 2, and as you said, like the author of the book, if we can invite him, and before the pre-launch or after launch, we can have an interview. And my question is like, how can we foolproof these things? Because any system, right?
Yeah.
We tend to create.
So can I think one thing that I forgot to mention, this is actually still in development. So the propositions on larger ones have to be the responsibility of multiple parties. And so that's how, you want to decentralize the power in any given proposition as well, to an extent where you have several parties that coordinate together.
Okay.
Any one bad actor can't take down the whole thing. So the larger the proposition is, the more members have to be involved with the keys to that proposition, essentially. So we might want to cap out the maximum amount of funds that any one individual can handle.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, JK? I cut you off before you finished.
No, that's fine, right? Again, I'm trying to collect my thoughts, and it's going in different direction because uh, this is something, right? So you come up with a noble idea and see like decentralized power and people get justice and whatever it is, right? So how do you intend this? Because even building the site or marketing it, and you have laid out the roadmap,
Mhm.
and those are wonderful things, right? Taking time and do the discovery phase and analyzing it and giving it to the people the power to decide what how we want to move forward, all those things. But even to do those things, how do you get funded, right? So how do you plan to um,
So we did write into the white paper that there's 5% of the funding is for maintaining, upgrading uh, the infrastructure. So it could get expensive, especially with more and more members to
Mhm.
facilitate not only developing the system for that many members, but also maintaining the web hosting. Because at the end of the day, even with blockchain, people still need to connect to a website. We will be making an app, which is a peer-to-peer system eventually, and that's in the roadmap. And there's other plans discussed in the roadmap for generating revenue within the system as well. But yeah, the 5% is how we're initially going to fund it. The currently, we're just paying out of pocket for all of
Mhm.
those costs. But yeah, I mean, it's all going to be on the books for return of investment out of that 5%. We're going to make sure that all of the early investors get paid back as soon as feasibly possible. And we haven't actually introduced the system for donation yet, but
Mhm.
we're hoping to get other funding in different ways too. There is a membership fee, which from the book you'll find was
Mhm.
kind of the secret. Mainly because when people are investing themselves, they take it more seriously. I don't want to drift too much, but one important thing I will say is there's mechanisms in place in this system to uh, kind of influence quality over quantity. So with the governance tokens that you get for voting, you're also having to spend those on comments and on posts, but you get refreshed. Anything that doesn't actually require funding, like a proposition, gets refreshed on a monthly basis. But you have to choose your words carefully because you spend your governance tokens, your allotment for the month,
Mhm.
in your participation. So you can't just go out there bashing people unless you really decide, like, oh, this is going to be worth spending my monthly allowance on. So we want people to think carefully uh, before they speak. That way, they're maximizing the community's efforts.
Mhm. And Tom, I'm gonna let Shiva ask a question real quick, but I did want to get touch on the book for a second because you brought the book back up again. Again, We the People Inc. And we would love to be able to talk to William down the road. But what was it about the book, Tom, that kind of jumped out to you or that grabbed you that you think people will be interested in when they're able to read it?
Well, I'll say from the perspective of a reader, I was privileged to be one of the first to be able to read it. And what shocked me is how obvious it seemed that this could work. And it's a beautiful piece of fiction that is like a utopia, an achievable utopian reality.
Mm.
I don't want to. I'm overdoing it. It's not necessarily a utopia, but um,
But it's better than what we have now.
yeah, absolutely.
Shiva, any questions for Tom?
probably we are missing him out. So again, Tom, we don't have much time. Like we kind of coming to the end of this week episode, probably we can do part two, or we can invite William and do an interview together with you. So how do you envision, like, for our audience, like what they can do, like how they can be part of it, like how to become a member? So we haven't talked about the technology behind it and the work you did. So you okay with us sharing those details?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So wethepeopleinc.com is where you can sign up. You can also, if you want to just purchase the book, we're offering honorary membership for people who purchase the book during this pre-launch period, which gives you everything but voting rights, because the voting rights are for members who have paid into the system. So, but you can still participate in the discussions for being one of the early adopters of the philosophy. And eventually, you probably will want to also get a full membership, because I think we're going to be empowering people to do things for their community and society in general. So wethepeopleinc.com, and during this first year, we're gonna let people just log in with email and password, and you can connect your wallet. Oh, there's an NFT as well, which is your profile picture, and it's kind of a unique NFT that will be facilitating self-serving algorithms. So you know how like social media kind of just like feeds you these things in your feed. We're gonna have these NFTs act as your filter, your self-service filter, so you can make sure that the issues that matter most to you are appearing in your feed more. And that's transferable with the NFT too. So, you know, if you you can have several of them and turn them on and off. And if you spent a lot of time building yours, you know, you can transfer that to your cousin if you want, and that way they get a head start on their feed. So I mean, there's a lot of things to discuss, but basically what we're doing is it's a soft launch, and just get involved and get into the discussion, and we'll help you onboard into Web3 if you don't know how to install a crypto wallet. That's part of it too, you know, educating the general public on participating in these blockchain systems, because ultimately there's a level of security there that is important for authenticating and verifying people's decisions that they make.
Absolutely. And again, we've been speaking with Tom Nevin this week, aka TC. The site, We the People Inc., the book, We the People Inc. Tom, we are excited to see where this goes, and we definitely would love to talk to you and William down the line. July 4th, again, as you mentioned, is the big day. So any final thoughts on the book or the movement or anything else before we leave this week?
Well, yeah, sure. Go ahead, and if you pre-order on Kindle, it's available for pre-order.
Okay.
You can then there's a process. You can send in your receipt that you showed for pre-order, and you'll get your honorary membership. If you don't want to commit to the full membership, it's $9.99 for the Kindle, which will you know, give you the ability to begin participating. And we do that because we want to make sure that people are somewhat invested. You know, if you're spending $10, you're not just going to go on there and troll the whole thing. You know, so there's reasons why that you can subscribe for free and keep updated, which will also give you, you know, you'll get the emails and updates, and you should be able to participate in receiving messages and communicating in private messaging with some members if they choose not to block you. But so if you do want to reach out to anybody, you can't necessarily comment, but you can back channel them, and it'll be in their queue of non-verified spam folder, essentially. So and we have a way to stop bots. Well, geez, don't I'm not telling all the hackers come, but yeah, there's some methods in place to stop bots from signing up for free. But
Yes.
it's been working. We don't have any bots at this point, so that's good. I don't think the other thing is on that note, with especially with Twitter and all the bots and stuff. And I'm not saying Twitter should charge money, but I don't think it's worth it to run bots if you have to pay for a membership for each bot, right? And unless it's a good bot, that's going to help.
Well, I hope this episode was helpful to the audience out there. JK, any last words before we wrap things up this week?
No, Nate. Again, thank you so much, Tom. It was wonderful.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, and hope to be a partner with you and do great works. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you so much for your time, Tom. Thank you to JK and Shiva, wherever Shiva is. We appreciate the time this week. And thank you to everybody watching for JK, for Shiva, and for TC. I'm Nate. Bye for now.